Ghost Recon Wildlands was released back in 2017 and was developed by Ubisoft, with most of the development taking place at Ubisoft Paris. The title, which is part of Ubisoft's Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon games, is an open-world, third-person tactical shooter, with heavy emphasis on non-linear gameplay, team-based cooperation, and tactical stealth. Ghost Recon has always been considered a pretty big deal in the tactical shooter genre. I actually discussed the evolution of the Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon games over on our main channel, as well as its overall impact on the third-person tactical shooter genre. If you want to check that out, the video is linked in the description. Moving on from that point, Ghost Recon Wildlands takes place in the country of Bolivia as a group of ghosts fight against a cartel by the name of Santa Blanca. The cartel is led by a brutal boss named El Sueño. The Santa Blanca cartel is growing in power and continues taking over regions of Bolivia. In response, the Bolivian government establishes an elite special forces group called the Unidad to take down Santa Blanca. However, the Santa Blanca cartel is just too powerful and is able to sink its claws into the Unidad, corrupting several members of its leadership. After a DEA agent named Ricardo Sandoval, or Ricky, is murdered by the cartel when his cover is blown, and a US embassy is bombed in the process, the US sends in a fire team of ghosts to Bolivia, who are sent to target cartel strongholds and leadership. That's where you come in as a character named Nomad. Ghost Recon Wildlands has easily become one of my favorite games ever, and its gritty, intense nature is precisely what keeps me coming back. It's an amazing game that's definitely worth playing in 2023. Ghost Recon Wildlands sets you in an open world where you must systematically go through sectors of the map to take down the Santa Blanca cartel by fighting off cartel heads and other important individuals to the functions of the cartel. In its beautiful tactical nature, Ghost Recon Wildlands gives you many avenues and ways to approach missions, cartel strongholds, villages, and more. You can drop in with a helicopter and parachute your way down. You can just move in the old-fashioned way on foot. You can also drive a car to certain locations. There's also a fast travel feature. The map is pretty large, so there are multiple ways to get proper transportation. Since there's a lot of ground to cover regarding what's amazing about Ghost Recon Wildlands, I'm just going to break down a few sections I found to be the most compelling parts to keep this video a bit organized. I'm going to discuss things like visuals, customization, and voice acting, sort of these more first impression type things, then I'll break down the gameplay itself as well as the map, and finally I'll break down the story and if it's good or not. So first of all, let's talk visuals. This game is beautiful. The nature and the animations are great. I think it really nailed getting the essence and atmosphere of what I'd expect in an action-packed video game about special operatives fighting against the cartel. Customization is great in Wildlands. You pretty much have an open canvas to design your character as you want, and it's great. You can pick between either a male or female nomad, then you can customize the face, hair, eyes, and some other visible features. You can add things like scars, face paint, and tattoos. You can also select what outfit pieces you want and mix and match to make one that fits your desire. When I was customizing my nomad character, I was visualizing an original mercenary group I came up with for my books called Blackridge. If you don't know, I'm actually an author of a military sci-fi fantasy series, which I will link in the description for your convenience to check out. Blackridge in my books does often utilize just standard camo and civilian gear sometimes, it depends, but one of the iconic looks in some concept advertisements I came up with is the blackout tactical stuff. So in my fashion of trying to recreate my PMC, I just made all my characters look like they'd be a part of it. And now I have Blackridge and Ghost Recon Wildlands. Anyways, there's also some special outfits that you can use as well. There's an Assassin's Creed costume, which I thought was pretty cool since you can actually play as a tactical assassin, which is a style of an Assassin's Creed game I've been wanting forever. But knowing Ubisoft, I will never get a modern-day tactical Assassin's Creed game, so it is what it is. But at least I can play as an assassin in Ghost Recon Wildlands. Once you load into the game, you get a cutscene of the most American movie plot setup ever. Nothing wrong with that because I love American action movies more than literally any other type of movie out there. And you're basically told to get the job done no matter the cost. I'm gonna say I was really impressed by the voice acting in Wildlands. I honestly really liked it, I think it's good, not much else I can say here. In terms of music and ambience, I think that Wildlands does that great as well. It nails the sort of suspense that you'd expect from a game set in a location where the cartel has dubbed itself the controller of the region. I think that as much flack as Ubisoft gets for its open world games, which I agree can be very overstuffed for no reason sometimes, one thing Ubisoft knows how to do is make a map look great. I mean, this isn't the first open world Ubisoft game I've played where I couldn't help but admire the map and the quality of the setting. Look at Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey, which are two very beautifully designed games in terms of visuals and ambience. Moving on to some more gameplay related items, Ghost Recon Wildlands is basically the first tactical third-person military shooter to be set in an open world, which I think really redefined the genre of third-person tactical shooters. It being the first, I think it set a pretty good precedent that can be built off of for future titles. You get the weapons you probably expected, guns, and more guns. Just kidding, but obviously in a military tactical shooter you want to be able to use guns. There's crossbows as well. There's a variety of different guns you can use throughout the game, and you can collect some as you go. Personally, I went with an assault rifle with either a submachine gun or a sniper rifle and a pistol, and I know some people prefer only using a single rifle and a single secondary, but since it's a game, I think having a few other guns is helpful when you're pinned in a situation or you're being overrun by cartel members. In regards to gunplay, I personally really liked it. There wasn't a learning curve or anything, but that just might be because I've been playing a lot of Breakpoint lately, but I didn't find learning how to master the different weapon types very difficult or complicated. I typically played over the shoulder when I aimed my gun, but I sometimes switched to first person if the target is a good distance away from me. If I was using a sniper rifle, for instance, I definitely had it in first person, otherwise it's going to be very complicated to use and inefficient when you're just trying to snipe out your enemies. Now, because this game is a tactical shooter, it's not going to be as simple as something like Call of Duty where you just run around and shoot things. Though Call of Duty has been trying to go for more tactical stuff lately, which is not bothering me at all. You're going to need to position yourself in a way where you have the best vantage and the best ability to fire hell on your enemies, which can be difficult if you're being overrun or there are lots of enemies on all sides. That's why teammates can come in handy for sure. Because Ghost Recon Wildlands is a team-based tactical shooter, you either play with your friends in co-op or you can just use the teammates the game gives you by default. Since I know no one that plays Ghost Recon Wildlands, I was just using the AI teammates. When you load into the game, there are story missions and there are side missions. The story missions can be played without you playing the side missions, but if you're a completionist, I would assume that you probably want to play the side missions too, which there are plenty of. The map is split into sectors, with each sector having a person of interest involved in the cartel that you need to eliminate. This is actually a pretty similar structure to something like Far Cry 5, where you had a map with several regions that needed to be liberated. This same principle applies to Wildlands. I think that the system works pretty well for an open world, but it is a bit cliche for Ubisoft since almost all of their main big titles seem to involve taking out some evil group in specific regions, but if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be playing the game. As I mentioned earlier, you can fast travel to different points within the region, which does make your travel time across the map faster in case you were bothered by having to drive around everywhere, which I can understand because the driving in Wildlands wasn't the best driving mechanic I've ever seen in a video game. In terms of story, I think the story is decent enough for a video game. It's nothing like life-changing, it's not the best game story I've ever seen, and I have seen other video games and media probably handle that cartel concept a bit better, but for a game focused on being mainly an open-world tactical shooter, the story was enough to keep you engaged and interested. If you're a fan of things like Narcos and all that, I think you'll enjoy the story. Plus, I'm coming back to this after having played Modern Warfare 2 story not too long ago, so my interest is pretty piqued for this Narcos cartel type stuff. I suppose the most interesting part about it is showing how the cartel came to be and the impacts the world of crime has on innocent people. It's pretty sad when you realize that this, and significantly worse than this, happens to people every day. You can disconnect from reality when you play a video game, but Wildlands doesn't really neglect showing you some brutal stuff, so it's hard to forget that it's not just a concept that exists within a game world. I should probably mention here that the story is likely not an original idea by Tom Clancy because Ubisoft kind of bought the rights to use his name on games. That does not mean though that the stories in the games are based off of his ideas. Either way, I think Ghost Recon Wildlands is a fun game. It delivers to you what it promises. Third-person tactical military shooter, open world, free Bolivia from the cartel. That's pretty much the premise of the game and that's what you get. So yes, Ghost Recon Wildlands is definitely worth playing in 2023. I'd say it's worth playing anytime, but you know this is about 2023. But seriously, play it. I had loads of fun and I really enjoyed this game and I'm sure you will too. And if you enjoy tactical shooters, you'll really like Wildlands. Your ability to engage with this game is pretty high and there's a lot of fun to be had with it. With that being said, thank you for tuning into DZSH Gaming. If you enjoyed that video, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe with notifications set to all so you never miss out on another upload. Check out our website for gaming news, entertainment, and more. The links to everything, including our socials, are in the description below. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see a video discussing Ghost Recon Wildlands versus Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And once again, thanks for watching.